Welcome to the course Introduction to Web Development, Module 2, CSS or Cascading Style Sheets. CSS. Where do we use it? CSS is otherwise known as Cascading Style Sheets. CSS or Cascading Style Sheets is a set of rules or statements that we utilize to write the presentation or the viewability of the web pages or the HTML pages. Before the conceiving of CSS, all HTML pages had a bulk set of HTML markups ranging from font colors to background styles and background images. So this made the process time consuming and expensive to design. So since in 1996, W3C, otherwise known as World Wide Web Consortium, invented CSS and maintains the CSS to this day. So the main objective of CSS was to enable the presentation and the content of the web pages in a modularized format. CSS increases the maintainability of the code and considerably cuts down the time used in writing multiple cascading style sheets to avoid duplicity. CSS 3 is the latest version of CSS that we will be utilizing. Starting with CSS. In order to include CSS in our pages, we have three different methods to do so. One is using inline styles. Two is to utilize embedded styles or internal styles. And three is to utilize external style sheets or linking it from an existing external CSS file. Let us see how these three methods of invoking CSS works in reality. Consider a code snippet of HTML where we have all the standard formats of basic format tags of HTML involved. Now, the first method that we saw is inline style. So that can be invoked by adding the global attribute for tags, which is style. So this style tag will invoke the inline CSS style. So here we can set the background color that we choose. There we have it. So the entire background or the viewport is converted into a aqua color. So the second method is utilizing the embedded styles. So which means utilizing the style tag. Style tag is usually placed at the beginning of the HTML page. So in order to execute this, we will take an example of element paragraph. This is a paragraph. Let us try to change the color of the paragraph to a darker tinge or darker shade. I'll be using a selector for the tag P. Inside curly braces, I will tell what type of style I need for the paragraph. Color, white. And let's try to execute this. There we have it. So the color is really white and it looks less contrasting. So let us try to change this color. And there we have it. So we have added a paragraph by using embedded styles. So the third way is utilizing external style sheets. Of inline styles, embedded styles, and external style sheets. Style sheets. Consider a code snippet on HTML, which includes all the basic HTML tags and the basic structure of HTML. So the first thing that we'll be looking at is inline CSS. In order to add inline styles, the first thing that we will have to do is pull the global attribute called as style. Every element has a global attribute where style, ID, and name are common for them. So attributes which are common for all elements are called as global attributes. And style is one among the global attributes. In order to add the style for the particular element, we will add the attribute followed by an equal to, and inside the quotes we will tell what is the type of styles that we need. So in our case, we will set background color and add aqua to it. So let us save and execute this and see what is the output that we are getting. There we have it. The page is converted to aqua. So now the second style that we have is embedded styles. Let us try to add an element P, which stands for paragraph. And let me write a sentence. This is a sentence. In order to add the styles in an embedded format, what we will do is we will utilize the help of a style tag. And inside the style tag, we will take the selector. In this case, paragraph P tag is the selector. So we will add the name of the element that we are choosing, which is P. And inside quotes, we will set the property and the value for the property. So first, I'm going to set the font color to white and then change it to a darker shade. Color white. Let us see what is the output that we have presently. So there we have it. So the embedded style is taking effect and we are getting the components styled. So in order to make this more viewable, what we will do is we shall change the white color to a darker shade or preferably black. And we have successfully changed the color to black and the embedded style is working as planned. And finally, the third method to add CSS is utilizing the link tag, which is how we will be working for external style sheets. In order to achieve this, we will take the help of a link tag. We will type link, then we will reference the style sheets. In order to reference the style sheets, we will take the hyperreference attribute, which is href, and then point the link tag to the location of our style.css file. And followed by, we will set the relation as inside quotes style sheet. And we have successfully linked the CSS style sheet. Now, in order to see if this is working, what we will do is we will add another tag span and set the ID of span is equal to element 2, and we will add some random sentence. Now we shall try to style this element utilizing the ID. In order to achieve this, we will take the help of an ID selector and then tell what type of style we need for this particular sentence. So in the style.css file, I will take the name of this ID, which is element 2. And in order to tell the CSS that this is an ID, we will have to utilize a hashtag. So this is called as an ID selector. So with this, what we will do is we will set the background of element 2 to a darker shade and the font of element 2 to a lighter shade, all while it is put up on the aqua color shade of the body. So I have set the background color to dark blue and the font color to white. Let us see how the output is coming now. And if you observe, we have a background with dark blue and the font color in white. So now that we know that all the three selectors are working, now that we know that all the three methods of adding CSS to the page is working, let us move forward to learning more about the selectors. In CSS, we have patterns called as CSS selectors. So these CSS selectors provide a pattern to choose the elements from the web page that we are looking forward to style. Selectors are one of the primary aspects of CSS that helps us specifically target the elements in the web page and thereby helping us as a whole. So primarily we have 6 important styles, but not limited to: universal selector, element type selectors, ID selectors, class selectors, descendant selectors, and pseudo class selectors. Let us see what these selectors are in working. Firstly, we have the universal selector. So universal selector is denoted by a star followed by a set of curly braces and the statements in between them. So the universal selector is utilized to select everything inside the viewport, starting from the body tag to the tiniest of a paragraph tag inside that particular web page. And then we have the element selector. Element selector is used to choose the tag by name and then add the stylings to them. It is denoted by the tag name followed by curly braces and then the set of instructions that we want the page to do. And thirdly, we have the ID selectors. ID selectors is usually denoted by a set of hashtags followed by the elements ID and then the curly braces and the set of rules that we want the ID selector to perform. Then we have the class selector. Class selector is one of the easiest ways that we can utilize to assign the styles to the page, and they can also be used as a recursive styles in order to call them again and again. So a class selector is denoted by a full stop sign followed by the class name inside curly braces and the set of statements that we need to be executed. Then we have the descendant selectors. Descendant selectors are used to choose elements that fall inside a element wrapper. For example, if we have a paragraph tag and a span inside of it, then the span becomes the descendant of the paragraph tag. So the descendant tag, the descendant selector is denoted by a selector name with space in between them and the next set of selectors and followed by curly braces and the statements that needs to be executed. Then we have the pseudo class selector. Unlike the rest of the other 5 selectors, pseudo class selector concentrates more on the states of the element that we are working with. For example, let us take a hyperlink element A. So hyperlink element A would be having 4 states. One is hover, one is active, visited, and the default state, which is link. So when a certain action or when a certain state occurs, for instance, when the mouse cursor is placed on a given element, the hover selector will take charge and whatever styles that we have set will be put into effect. So the pseudo class selectors is denoted by select element selector and colon followed by the class state and then curly braces and set of statements that we need executed for the selector. So let us see all these 6 selector elements in working. Let us start with a simple code snippet and let us paste all the CSS styles inside the embedded styles. Style tag, and since we will be utilizing the universal style, what we will do is we will add a couple of elements inside the body to know that they are of different format, and then we will add the universal selector and the consequence style for the universal selector. So we have a paragraph tag which contains a couple of sentences. Then we have the h2 tag. Finally, we have a span tag. So these three make up of three different elements inside the body. So individually, they have multiple set of rules, or they have their own stylings individually. And now when we add a universal tag, and then let us say we want the color to change from black to red. So what we can do is we can add the universal selector star and flower brackets, and inside them we can tell color is equal to red. And when we execute the statement, all the elements inside the body or inside the viewport would be taking the effect of the color red. So this is the universal tag. Secondly, coming to the element selectors. Let us consider four elements: H1, H6, a paragraph tag, and finally a span tag. So we have four set of elements over here. So what we will do in order to call these tags is we shall take their names, followed by which we will utilize a set of flower brackets and then tell the style that we need. So color blue. And when we execute the statement, only the element will be having the changes taking place, or the element name which is called in the selector will have the changes taking place. So let's say we need to say